Hello, hello, hello. We have rather dark pink nails, and they are excessively long because I've been on a 3-week holiday. So I wasn't around at my desk, should I put it that way. I was around for the launch. I was just on the other side of the world. So I see we already have quite a few people in the house. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have Fiona, we have Steph, we have Peapods, we have Teresa. Teresa's South African. So yeah. Hello, hello, hello. So yes, Teresa, I tell you, I've just been in Cape Town for the last 3 weeks. I landed in Berlin this morning at something past 10 a.m., having started the trip at about 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon in Cape Town on my way to the airport. So yes, we nearly missed our flight, but that's another story for another day. We made it by the skin of our teeth. I think my face was the same color as my hair from running from hither and thither across the airport, because we thought my flight was our flight, because my whole family went, as in my husband and son and I, was in Terminal A in Johannesburg, and we get there having been delayed from Cape Town, so we grab our bags off that carousel and run across, and then we get there and the security goes, no, Condor's on the other side, Terminal B. So we hightail it back there, and we literally made it by a hair's breadth. So I am here tonight. Nearly wasn't. I was going to have to tell Sarah, sorry, no can do. So yes, it is a long flight, but overnight you can sleep, or I managed to sleep quite a lot. So all's good. So yes, I'm fresh off that plane. But I haven't been able to play with my fun new toys or designs much, other than obviously before I went on my trip. So what you can see in front of you is my 2 new stamp sets called Hello Sailor and Forever True. And I seem to have got the backing cards in these 2 mixed up. Oh dear. Oh well. We'll sort that out later when I pack them away. But so what I just wanted to show you to start off with tonight is a couple of colorways that I have got here on my desk that I have pre-done. So what I did do is I sat and stamped a whole lot of the banner. So the banner you can stamp just blank. And you could even just sit and color these. And depending on what project is that you're doing, you could then add the sentiments. So I have specifically on the one with the banner, which is Forever True, I have got already curved sayings. So they fit the banner. They're designed to all fit the banner perfectly. But what you can see on this side over here are the sayings from this stamp set, which are straight. And if you curve them on your block, you can make them fit the banner too. So all of these sayings fit perfectly. Even this one that's quite long, it fits perfectly on the banner. Hello, Louise. Hello, Avril. Hello, Shannon. Hello, Natalie. Hello, Nicola. Ali. Ali's in the house. Ali, we don't have a giveaway tonight, unless our Sarah comes on and tells me that there is, but there is no giveaway tonight because, as you can see at the bottom of the live tonight, I have a ticker tape going that says sign up to the newsletter on the website. So I'm just going to hop across to my banners over here, and I'm going to show you what I mean. So on the website, when you scroll down just a little bit, or you've been on the website for a little bit, and even if you've signed up to the newsletter, it still will come up, just to be sure that you sign up to this newsletter. You just have to enter your email address to subscribe and click that you're not a robot, and that you agree to receive the newsletters, because, all of these things, nowadays, you can't just plonk somebody on your email list. And why am I telling you all of this? Well, because Sarah is going to be only emailing in her newsletter a code for, what month are we in? Black Friday month. So if you're not on that newsletter, you're not going to get the code. So that is why I've got the ticker going along the bottom tonight, just to remind you to sign up to the newsletter so that you can get all those. Yes, just have fun tonight, Ali. Don't. So Ali was frantically writing names down. Good evening, Sarah Lou. Thank you. It's wonderful to be back. And yes, I had the most amazing time in South Africa. For those of you who missed the beginning, I went back to South Africa to visit friends and family for the first time in 5.5 years, which wasn't why I wasn't around and doing the live with Sarah for the launch of my ink, my lovely, lovely vintage ink stamps and papers. So I'm going to have a bit of a play with these tonight. Thanks, Ellie. Coloring is one of those therapeutic things that I just love to sit and do for no reason other than to just sit and color. I've got two sitting off screen here that also are from the set, and of course the birds. I'm not sure what's happened to my colored birds. I think I might have chopped them up and used them on a sample. Here's another set of hearts that I have sat and pre-colored, and they're ready to just cut out and use, and I can pick and choose any of the banners that I also have ready. So I just wanted to show you those to start with, and a little bit of coloring inspiration. And these are done with Tim Holtz pencil crowns, the watercolor pencil crowns. I particularly love, if you've ever watched one of my lives before, I particularly love any watercolor pencil crowns, because you can kind of color fairly badly and then take the watercolor brush, just water on either just a normal paintbrush or the paintbrush that has the water barrel, and then you just tidy it all up. So for me, that's a really quick and easy way to color. For this one, I've given a bit of a drop shadow just to make it a little bit more interesting and to make it pop a little bit more. And then these ones I haven't. You could absolutely give the drop shadow to all of these as well. So I just thought I would give you a close-up of those. So now let's get down to business. Hello, Christiana. Fralina is Christiana. So I wanted to I've started working on the page, because really you don't need to see me coloring a whole page. But what I am going to be working with tonight, let's just get this out of the way of the logo up there, is I have fallen in love with this die, because I love dies that do something, or that you can do more than just cut one, thing from. So this is a double die, triple die really. You get this part that makes just the holes, and you get these parts that make either just the innie or the outer or both. So what you can do is then have something like this. And so I've cut the innie from this one from the dark with the outie, so that I get the dark brown, and then just those two together to make the backing. So I have put a video online of how to do this to make sure that it fits. And yes, Christiana, these my drawings are based on vintage tattoos from Sailor Jerry. So Sailor Jerry was around a long time ago, and he started incorporating sort of the Chinese style, Japanese style into his work, and became quite unusual. it was, unusual at the time. I think it was early 20s, 1920s, 1930s. So that was quite unusual. And they actually use his stuff on, I think it's alcohol labels and so on. And so I've used Sailor Jerry's style as the jumping point for my design. So what I've got here, this is the same as my stamp. So if you just look over here, that is the same as my stamp, but I've cut this out of the paper. So there's an 8x8 paper pad that also includes this. And it's so funny, when I first got the paper pad, I was flipping through it and I realized they have stuck that in sideways. Not that it really matters, because you're going to pull that out and use it anyway. So, I mean, the paper's square, so it doesn't matter which way they stick it in, I suppose. But yes, it is sideways. So just be aware of that. And so, yes, there's this gorgeous paper pad that kind of mirrors the subject matter and so on in my stamps. And yes, Mom is very pleased to have me home. I see Sarah Lou is chatting to Mom in the chat. Hello, Brian. Brian is in the house. He made some amazing samples as well. So did all the design team. The design team always blow me away with what they do. As a designer, you have one thing in your mind, or an idea, or 10, 20, depends on your frame of mind at the time. And then the design team get hold of it and they just take it to a completely next level. So I, of course, don't have my samples. I shipped them all off to Sarah. She's got them, and you will have seen her playing with 3 left hands. I don't know why they only made those polystyrene hands in left hand, but I had to do 3 left hands as tattoos. So that was something that tickled me, that now we can give mannequins and things tattoos, because these kind of look like real tattoos. So what I've done here is I have actually taken this die and I have cut some rather thick foam. So you might have heard me talk about this before. I love working with this, what I call swimming pool foam. It's for summer, to go underneath the portable swimming pools. They have these big square mats that are like puzzle pieces that all puzzle together and make a nice smooth base for your swimming pool. They also make a very good stamp, and I'm holding it up so you can see the depth of the actual foam. It's a lot thicker than your standard craft foam. And so what I did is the same way as I cut the brown for the paper, I cut some foam. So now I have a stamp, so that I can now stamp this image onto my cards in a background. So I love it when I can make something more useful and more versatile. Oh, thanks, Ali. The hands were such fun to make. I actually did them as a class for my online membership area. So I'm dying to see if anybody takes that idea and takes it further with some other designs. I mean, it doesn't have to be my designs. So yes, there is a video on this. Ali is saying, I have put a video on it. I will, it's on my YouTube. So I need to find a link to that. I will do that shortly. So that on how to make the stamp, and all I've done is stamped straight onto the paper. So this is not raised at all. It's not, oh, now these long nails are doing my head in. Thankfully on Friday, I'm going to have them sorted. So this is paper. It's completely flush. There's no die cut on here at all. This is stamped and colored. So I thought I would do this technique, but in my art journal tonight, and see where that goes. I do love to add shadows. So I've also taken the embossing folder with all the ropes and added shadows to make them look dimensional. And just for fun, I took this is a stencil that I ran some Stella paste through, let that dry, cut it out with a craft knife. So in the middle here, I've used a craft knife to cut that out. And then again, I have shaded so that it looks dimensional. So this is just something that I absolutely love doing. And I've also done it on the die cut. So there's no reason why you can't do it on the die cut as well. It's just a case of making something darker that goes behind and leaving the front bit lighter so it looks in front. So to push something back, you make it darker. To make something look like it's in front, you make it lighter. So you can either leave it uncolored or you can make it lighter. The other thing I do when I get these dies is I make masks and things for myself. So I made this as a stencil for myself. I use just normal tracing paper so I can see where I'm overlaying it. I've just used some cardstock from the front cover of my 300 GSM watercolor pad. So this is paper that I wouldn't usually use for anything, and I've made myself a stencil from that as well. And somewhere, you know, I'm so organized before live, and then I swear my Bermuda Triangle button gets flipped, and I've lost the innie and the outie from these things. Oh no, right in front of me. You can't see them for looking. So then you can see this is also how I use these to create drop shadows. So I have a lot of ways that I like to use dies, but tonight what we're going to be doing is just playing with it in my art journal. So I am going to create my background now, and I'm going to just literally create a background. Now, normally those of you who watch my lives are probably dead bored with me doing the spray and blot technique. So what we have here is just good old Distress Oxide and a yummy big Funky Fossil Designs brush. So these are just so gorgeous and they take on ink really well. But what I'm going to do is the same as what I had done there. I'm going to just flip my book inside out and add the color. So okay, now yes, Brian, you need to give those hands a go. I'd love to see what you do with them. It's not the wooden ones, so it's not the ones that mannequin, like real mannequin ones, all those would be absolutely gorgeous. What gave me the original idea was I wanted to do it on, I've got a mannequin, a polystyrene mannequin, and I've got a masculine one as well. So I've got a female one, the polystyrene one that stands on it's a full sort of dress form, for want of a better description. And then I have one that I found in a tip, as one does, you know, that is, I guess it's for like a man's shop, like for shirts or whatever. It's just the top torso bit. And I wanted to put these tattoos on there. But that's rather hard to video on the desk. And you know, these days I like to record everything I do. So I then was thinking, what on earth could I make look like tattoos? And then I was ferreting about in a craft shop and came across these really cheap left hands. And I could have as many as I wanted, as long as they were left-handed. So, Ali's saying she thinks my videos are in the featured section of the Fun with Funky Fossil group too. Yes, they are around, but they are definitely on my Belinda Person. Everything to do with me is just Belinda Person, nothing fancy. So if you're looking for anything that I've done or I've designed, or you think I might have posted something somewhere, just pop Belinda Person in and to good old Google, and I'll pop up everywhere, including on Funky Fossil page with my designs. So Sarah and I had such fun coming up with the ideas for this. I did a whole lot of research on vintage tattoos. I'd love to know what your brother thinks of these drawings, Christiana, if you're still around. Christiana's brother is a brilliant tattoo artist. And so, yeah, it would just be interesting to know what he thinks. So all I've done is gone for a kind of a blotchy background. And now I can see that what I want to do is balance those two sides. Let's just see if I can get it all on the screen here. So I just want to give a whole lot more color on the side over here at the bottom. So Brian's saying, I always wanted to create an altered piece using a dummy torso. Yes, that's exactly what I've got. And I started by doing torn paper and sticking it on the body. I wanted to then peel it off. I think I put mold release agent on it before I started sticking, but that was 100 years ago before I moved countries. So I think it's well and truly stuck now. I don't think the mold releasing agent is going to release anything. So now I have a nice sort of smudgy, interesting background. And what I'm going to do is first I want to just almost recreate the look of this design, which is the same stamp design, which I shrunk and then I created a repeat pattern. So I want to create that in the background. So I'm going to get my stamps out. Hello, Selena. So I also found, for those of you who are wanting to do these as fake tattoos, the color that I chose to do the fake tattoos in is VersaFine Clear Twilight. For me, and this is the sample color around the edge, that is just the epitome of tattoo ink color. So that is what I used there. Now, I have not been in my studio for 3 weeks. Miraculously, I have managed to put everything away. It doesn't look like I cleaned this stamp, but so I'm getting very well. I didn't clean it at all. So VersaFine Clear is a permanent ink, and you can clean your stamps with alcohol, like isopropyl alcohol that you use to disinfect everything, you know, from the big C days. Teresa says that ink pad is the most used of hers. Yes, I love that. I just love that color. It's dark enough to be like black for some things, and then light enough to still read as blue. So, oh, thanks, Selena. I'm glad you love it. I had such fun. It's just so different. I mean, I'm known for my steampunk, of course, but it's just nice. I can draw anything and do anything. So it's just nice to have a play with something vintage. I mean, anything vintage floats my boat, to be honest. So what I'm looking for here, before we go too far and I'm yakking away in the background, I am just looking to build random, and I'm going to have to stand up because the stamp is quite big and I haven't used it for a while. I'm going to, maybe I should start in the middle here because I've got the edge of the spine over there to fight with me, and it's, yeah, so I'm just going to stamp there. If it doesn't print perfectly everywhere, it really isn't the end of the world as we know it, because I want it as a background. I'm not wanting it, so yeah, it didn't print perfectly on his face, not the end of the world. I'm just going to, by the time this is finished, it's just really going to be a background. I really should have done CPR on that, but I didn't. So we will do CPR on the others. So what I'm looking for, I'm going to just do that a little bit further down. Do some proper CPR. The other problem is, of course, working straight into your journal, which is probably, I suspect, the way this is rocking, because I glue and I stick things in the other pages. There are things behind here, like this, for example, that means that that's not flat. But as I say, for this particular thing, it really doesn't matter because it's going to be imperfect in different places. And I'm going to be spritzing with a bit of water, so that's going to make the whole thing fairly imperfect. So what I'm kind of doing is creating a larger version of the paper. Thanks. Yes, it's Versifine Clear in Twilight was the blue that I was talking about. Thanks everybody for jumping on board there, helping out. That's what I love about you guys. You know, as crafters, we love to share and help each other out. So thank you. Right, so I'm just going to pop that one down here. Cast your own torso, Brian. Could get a bit awkward, I guess. And uncomfortable. Cold. It's winter. It's a summer job. Okay, so let's not line these up. I'm going to go now. That's a bit far away from the edge. So what I'm going to do is pop the stamp. You know what I love about this brand is that they really do stick so nicely to the block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sneak this one down by hand over here ish. This is very ish, people. This is an art journal. We're not looking for a perfect repeat pattern. We are looking for a background. Now I'm going to stick my block over the top so that I know that it fits. Now, people, behave yourselves. Might be children watching. Naughty in the chat. So there we go. Of course, on this side, it should print properly because, well, there's nothing at the back of it yet to mess it up. So if there's bad stamping, it's just I can only blame myself. I can't blame the tools because the quality of Funky Fossil stamps is brilliant. So, okay. Selena's booking a date for Brian to do the torso in summer. Yes, that was the one thing. I left 3 weeks ago. It was still not too cold here in Berlin. And I've had a lovely kind of springy, summery few weeks in Cape Town and come back to definitely jackets and scarves and hats weather. Right, almost enough faffing. I've got a gap here and I've got a gap up there, so I'm going to ink it up. I know I'm off camera while I'm inking, but that just is what it is. And I'm going to just move that down. Let's finish that off up there. Ish, something like that. I don't have to re-ink it because I'm going to use the top at the bottom over here. Now, of course, we are off the other side of the thing. There we go. So I've just shifted it and didn't shift it straight, did I? Let's just do it by hand then. Such a little bit that needs doing. And go. Commit. Right. Okay, so I can see I need to do a little bit over here as well. Done. So what I'm looking to do is kind of create the feeling like kind of you've stuck your own paper, scrapbook paper down. Right. That can get washed later. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to spritz the page with water. And then I'm going to turn this ticker tape thing off. So for those of you who've come in after the explanation, it says sign up to the newsletter down there on the ticker tape. And that is because Sarah is going to be putting in the newsletter a code for Black Friday, because of course we are in November. So that is why it keeps saying sign up to the newsletter on the website. That's a reminder to me to tell you all about that. So we don't want to forget about that. Not Cape Town. You'll have to sponsor me to get your tattoo designs for real. Brian, I'm on to you. No, you're welcome to do my designs as tattoos, but I'm not sponsoring those. One of the reasons I don't have tattoos, A, the pain, B, the cost, and C, I don't know if I want to have something so permanent on my body. That's why I have pink hair. I've had it for 11 years this December, but I can still change my mind. Not so much about tattoos. Cape Town weather in Europe, so miss a hot Christmas. Winter doesn't give me the same Christmas vibe. No, but I actually really like the winters. So what I'm going to do is this, what I've been using is ice spruce, and I'm just going to lightly spritz to activate the oxide and kind of mess up the stamp, for want of a better description. And let's just see. I want it to kind of blur and not be perfect and to oxidize. So that's going to do its own thing and go chalky. Oh, sorry, Brian. I know it's not fair. Life's not fair. Shannon's ready to skip winter and go to spring. I could live from autumn to spring, autumn to spring. I'm not really a summer person. Everybody here lives for summer, and I'm like, can skip that. Okay, so while that is activating, I'm going to sort out my stamp. So all I've done here is I have just glued my stamp onto a piece of packaging. That's all it is, really, some acetate packaging. It's thicker than acetate that you would use for files. I need to actually plug in, because while I was away, I unplugged everything, and including my computer. And the thing is, now I had to, before the live, I went on, thank goodness, a whole lot earlier, because it just wanted, it had kicked me out of every app and needed passwords for everything. Now it is wanting, I'm trying to, excuse my sunburnt arm. Yes, sunburnt in winter over here, but it's not that sunburnt, but it looks like it on the screen. I want my heat gun to just dry this off. And it has gone down the back and beyond. There we go. So I'm just drying off the oxidation that I created by wetting the oxide. So oxides go kind of chalky, and I just wanted them to bleed a little bit and do their own thing, because I didn't want a perfect background. So Brian wants to do it as for a leukemia charity. Are there any of my journals left in stock? Yes. Could be telling porkies, but when I last checked, which was before I went away, there were some journals left. So I just love the paper in these journals, and I love the spiral, because you can pull pages out if you're not happy. That's just really easy. And then the other thing I do, you'll notice that I leave a blank page in between. And then when I'm done, I glue them together. So they're quite thick. And yeah, so that's how I love working in a ring bound. And then if you mess like this, which is usually when you're using sprays or whatever, then it doesn't matter. Okay, that should be dry enough to carry on. So what I want to do now is I just want to play with this over the top. I don't know that I'm actually going to finish this completely tonight in my live, but I want to put this rope on here, and I'm going to use Versifine Claire Acorn. Is that's so Brian wants to do that charity because his mom died of leukemia. So that's very noble, Brian. Very well. It's like why I have pink hair for Claire, because she died of breast cancer. And it's quite funny because everybody assumes I like pink. It's not that I don't like pink. Pink is not my favorite color, ironically. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to ink up, not my desk, apparently that as well. I'm going to ink up the stamp that I made, that if you missed it earlier, I made it by using the die, and there is a video around on the Funky Fossil, Fun with Funky Fossils, and it is on my website. So, I mean, on my website, on my YouTube. Apparently it's mandatory that I really ink this desk of mine at the same time really well. So, right, I'm going to stand up and do CPR as well. And I'm going to do it off the page like so. So on this one, I'm going to do sort of more than 3/4, or sort of 3/4, more than the usual 2/3. And then what I do is, because it's nice and squishy, I can walk my hand around my fingers. If there are any South Africans on here, you might remember that advert, let your fingers do the walking in the yellow pages. I can't go that deep. I'm a soprano. It's funny the things that pop into your brain when you're working. Okay, have I covered that enough? Yep. Okay, let's lift. And lift. And because I like to work in threes, I'm going to repeat this elsewhere. So I'm going to just ink the top. And now I'm going to stamp. So I can actually stamp off the side like this at an angle, because nobody's going to know at which point that was. So I'm going to kind of accentuate that one over there. Lots of messing on my desk. I'll have to get my alcohol ink out and clean my desk when I'm done. So that is, if you do get these inks where you don't want them on a surface that can be cleaned with alcohol, well, that's the answer. Yes, because now you can't even see it. Now I'm going to ink up the bottom, and I'm going to have it somewhere over there like that, because I like to repeat things in threes, but you don't have to repeat the whole thing. And you don't even have to fit the whole thing on the page. It's funny the things that we get caught up in, like putting things in the middle all the time, or having to have the whole thing on the page. Yes, Selena, adverts are very odd. Adverts used to be, like, there's so many of our South Africanisms go around adverts. It's not inside, it's on top. And have a ding dong day dairy bell. And all sorts of, like, sort of household sayings, really, that everybody knows what everybody's talking about, because, well, they were played ad infinitum and they became so much a part of. Now, I don't know, I can't even tell you about an advert that I don't watch TV now, so that's me. I can't tell you what's on TV, full stop. Okay, so I've got that, and I've got that. I think that's enough for now. Now we're going to color in. So, back to Timmy's colors. And I've just taken a stationery thing, and I have put, I've taken one apart. I've taken two, and we're going to use those colors and probably some of the dark ones, but for now I'm going to start with the browns, and I'm going to go with the lighter browns. And sorry, now I've got everybody distracted and talking about adverts because I distracted myself about talking about the yellow pages. I mean, people don't even have phone books anymore. I was saying with one of the projects that I was doing where I tear up books, I used to use the phone book, the leftover phone books. We don't have phone books anymore. And then some people said in Australia, oh, yes, we do. They're at the post office. Now they're going to rush off and get one when I was teaching classes there, because that's a nice free source of paper that you can use as a texture that you don't feel bad about tearing up. Now you'll notice when I'm coloring, and I am coloring badly because at this point it doesn't matter, I am not coloring onto the brown, and that is because with these pencil crayons they are quite opaque in some cases, and then what happens is when you go over the top of the brown, it blots some of the color. So I'm being very careful to just color inside here. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm just going to do this one for you to show you how I like to color these things, to give them some depth. And now in this overly tidy desk, where's my water brush? Oh, the Bermuda Triangle of my own creation is just too much. It's right where it should be. I just couldn't see it. Oh, yes. Don't you watch Gutted Zeiten? No, I don't watch TV. Full stop. I don't care what language it is. I just don't watch. So this is what I was talking about, a paintbrush with the water barrel. So there's water in there, and as I work, the barrel releases water onto the brush. So it's a great way of not having to water on your table. So these are the brushes that I take with me when I go plein air sketching or urban sketching, because you don't have to have bottles of water and things, and they just clean very easily on a piece of paper towel. So what I'm just doing is taking the paint to the edge. Now here I am going over, you can just color down the middle like so. But as I said, it's depending on your pigments that are in your pencils. Sometimes it overrides the color underneath. So I'm just speeding this up and doing the fast way. So now that I've got my base color down here, what I'm going to do is I totally cheat, and I take the color straight from the pencil crayon. So if I'm wanting a darker color at this point, I now just use it like a block, like a color block. And what I mentioned earlier was, if you want something to go behind something else, you need to make it darker. So the dark makes it go back and the light makes it come forward. So anywhere that you want something to look like it is behind, you add some shadow, like so. Now this one's at the bottom, so I want to add some shadow under here. And this one's really at the back, so I'm going to add some shadow under here. And this one's at the back. These are at the back. And then at the bottom, I'm going to add some shadowing. So that is how I start to build up a little bit of dimension. And then these would have some shadowing too. So you can take something as simple as this die cut, turn it into a stamp, and then really make it sort of feel dimensional just by adding shadows in the right place. So at this point, I haven't even added highlights. So you could specifically come back with a white. Oh yes, Brian, if you haven't played with these, do ask your good lady if you can have a go, because these really are I just love them. So the trick with shading is to pretend that you have a single source of light, so like a spotlight, like a desk lamp, and it's pointing in one direction. And I just always go with the sun coming from, or the desk light coming from the right, light from the right, so then it's shadows on the left. So if the light is coming from the right, then these are going to be darker on this side. It just means that whatever I'm coloring will always work with everything else, and I don't have to think. So that is how I'm going to do that. And now we're going to go quite dark, because the trick is, if you don't go dark enough, it's kind of bland. So now what have I got here? I have got scorched timber. And one of the reasons that I like to use these of Tim's is because everything kind of works together. So I really want to knock these back. So I'm going to go with a scorched timber in here. And this one, because I want this one has to look like it's really the front one, and these ones have to look like the back one. So possibly too much water coming out of this one. There we go. So I want that one nice and dark, so that it looks behind. This one nice and dark. And don't be afraid if it drops kind of like it's done now, too much color, because I can come back and blend that out a little bit more and just use it elsewhere. So I really want to have this one at the back, and then this one's going behind over here. So it's just a fiddle and a faff, but it's what I love doing the most. It's, for me, the most therapeutic, to just sit and make something look 3D. So now that I've got less on my brush, I'm going to come and just soften that. So it's just a matter of playing and experimenting and seeing what works for you. Color-wise, obviously I'm using brown for the rope. That's kind of just a bit of a boring option. I can see on my screen that it is actually showing up as shiny because it's wet. So I'm just going to give this a blast with a heat gun. So Shannon, yeah, the problem with coloring is figuring out shading and light. So it's anything that is behind goes dark, anything you want in front is light. And so it's just taking something and experimenting over and over again with the same thing until you feel like that works. And then, because now I cut myself a stencil and a mask, just scratching for it there. I'm going to put this on here, and I'm going to make a shadow. So that's also what helps to make this look dimensional, is to give it a shadow. And what I've got is my funky fossil brush and my black soot, just normal distress. And so continuing in the same theme of light from the right, I'm going to, it rhymes, so it just suits me. I'm going to add a bit of shadowing underneath, and more so just in those corners. And up here. And on this side, there would be a little bit of shadow on the inside over there. So sometimes, Shannon, what is good is if you're trying to work with something and you're not sure where the shadows could go, take, for example, I don't know, an apple, something simple like that. You plonk it on a table and you take a spotlight, like a desk lamp, torch, your cell phone torch, and shine it on one side, and you will then be able to see where the shadows need to go. So I must have just shifted that slightly, so I just need to bring a little bit more shadowing underneath there. I cheat and use the pencil crayon because that's just going to be faster for the live. And that is how I create that depth and how I would use it on a project. So I'm going to go ahead in my own time and color those up. And then, so now at the moment, this is just kind of very background. It needs something to focus your attention on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the hearts. And my idea was to have 3 hearts down one side, but I'm not so sure that that's going to work anymore. So that was my original plan. One has to have a plan so that one can change it. And I think what I'm going to do now instead is I'm going to pick one of these sayings that I already have done that works with this page. And I can either go with this. So what I did is I die cut this out of the paper, and it will fit perfectly in there. And it's one of the reasons why I went with the speckled egg background, because I know it goes with my papers. So I could actually stick that in there. That works. Absolutely works. Okay, so having made the stamp, it's slightly different, but I can just shadow that in and trim that off. And we could, of course, have Hello Sailor to balance that over there. And what about, no, I don't want to repeat that. So, oh, roses red, no, forever tree, no, that, no. Yes, Brian's saying he learned to do shadows using an orange. No, you need just to, at the beginning, just a simple shape. That's how I went with an apple. It's practice. It's practice, practice, practice. Or I have cut out somewhere in here that I showed you guys earlier. The cut out versions of my papers. Where did I put them? Tidied away, I did. I tidied away. I still showed you the anchor that is set sideways in the paper. Oh, good grief. Okay, we'll go with this guy. So, because this is slightly off here, I'm going to just bring some shadow in here so you won't notice. And let's have a look. See, could do with a bit more. So yeah, drop shadows are just such a quick trick, especially if you've got a mask that you've cut that fits. Okay, I'm going to commit to that, and I'm going to drop that into, let's see, I haven't used anything on my desk, remember, people, for the last 3 weeks. So let's just see what is Uh-huh. Like you. So I'm going to stick that down. Got some glue ooze up there. And I need a little bit more color down here. So I'm just going to lift this up before that dries and pop some color in there, because the trick is if you have something pale in the background there, your eye, it'll jump out at your eye and it'll just be really obvious. So I'll just let that set for a bit, and I'm going to have this here to balance that, and he's in the background as well, but I do want to have a drop shadow. So I've got one here that I'm prepared to sacrifice to become my drop shadow thing. Okay, so let's just grab that. I just find it so much easier to have an object to drop shadow around, so that it's like it's a mask basically. Normally I would just stamp one and then have a mask. I wouldn't normally sacrifice one that I've already colored, but for the sake of time, we have a sacrificial banner. So do you see how that just, it makes it sort of look like it's floating on the page? It's not just an object. It really is, it's layers. Basically, everything I'm doing is about building layers. So Teresa's saying art classes were big in your primary school, still life and portraits like 8, 9-year-old. Yeah, I learned. I'm doing what I'm doing now because of my junior school art teacher, Miss Barty, Miss Elizabeth Barty. She was brilliant. Selena's saying I was told when I was doing nursery nurse course in my 30s, I was absolutely hopeless at art, but I wish people wouldn't say that. That kills a person's soul. You know, I don't understand how people feel they have the right to do that. Absolutely, you don't have to be able to draw. You know, I've had art students over the years. Selena, can you drive a car? I say that, and not, if you can't, it's not the end of the world. My son has never learned to drive a car, well, because he doesn't need to. We have public transport here. But you're not born being able to drive a car. You learn to drive a car. You can absolutely learn to draw. It's a skill. It can be learned. You might not be the next, I don't know, Michelangelo. I'm certainly not. But, you know, these things can be learned. Like I'm teaching you tonight, the basic, I mean, it's fundamentals of shading to make something look dimensional on the page. I would probably sit and fiddle just a little bit more, but the essentials are here. And what I would also probably do is come back with some highlights. And that I will do with I mean, some people say it looks kind of like comic-like, a bit too Disney, but putting little highlights on something. So putting the highlight on the right-hand side where the sun would catch it makes it definitely look like it's got a sunny side. So it would be the raised bits, and I'm just going to blot those because I don't want them to be so bold. So yes, and again, they would be here and there and there. So it's these little tricks and tips that fool your eye into thinking that this is a dimensional object on the page. And they can all be learned. I was taught this. I didn't just come up with this out of my own accord. I learned all about shading and techniques and so on. So, yeah, again, I would put a highlight probably somewhere over here and just soften it. Softened it too much. But you get the idea. And now, of course, I need to trim that off. Get my nice big scissors. So, yes, Selena, craft groups are wonderfully encouraging, and I think there's so much bullying and nonsense going on out there. We need to build each other up. So, and then the other thing that I like to do once I've finished a page, so I'm going to call this side finished. Obviously, I've still got to add my color over here and my drop shadow, etc. But I like to take a dark color, and in this case I'm going to use black because I've got black in the printing over there, and I'm going to just edge my page just to kind of frame it like so, and I probably can make this a little bit darker and come in a little bit more. So especially for a journal page or a card, I really like to just finish it off with a darker color, and it doesn't have to be black. I am using black for this because it pops. I quite often will use blue or whatever other color, or brown in this case, works for the page. But can you see the difference between this page and that page now that I have outlined them? Because I'm using black and it is kind of mirroring that color. So yes, I hope you enjoyed that art journal page. So using my stamp to make a repeat pattern in the background, and then using the same image. In this case, I've got it from the paper, but you could have absolutely used the a colored version of this that you had stamped and colored in, and then stuck it in there. And then I've got the Hello Sailor. I do want to knock that Hello Sailor back just a tad because it is a little bit brighter. Because although I know I have used the same wild honey on there, but I have stamped this straight onto this background. So what I actually need to do is come with a little bit of the speckled egg onto this to make it. Now that's really dry on my. Yeah, that's working. What I'm trying to do is just knock this bright piece a little bit back into the paper. Oh, Shannon, it's so hard. Kids, she's saying her great niece cried last year because her snowman wasn't perfect. She's 6. Oh, man. You know that Persian carpets, have a flaw knitted into them on purpose to prove that it wasn't done by a machine, to prove that it was done by a human. So there you go. So the whole idea of what we do, especially in journals. So journals for me are a place to let my hair down, to experiment, to play, and just learn. I mean, you must see, I've got absolutely every journal. My first few are diabolical. I still show them to people. I learned so much from those. And it's usually, obviously, I am demoing to show you guys and give you inspiration, and I'm using my journal. Journals are not something you would normally give somebody. So it is your safe place. You're not going to give it as a card. You're not going to give it as a gift. You don't even have to take photographs of it and put it online just because you've done it. Don't feel that pressure. That's why I love an art journal. It's a place to learn. I quite often, in fact, I can't get to it right now because I've got something in front of it, but in a lot of my earlier journals, I actually made notes. Like say, having done a page like this, I will say, made a mask and did drop shadow, or used iced spruce. I keep calling it speckled egg tonight. It's iced spruce. Sorry, people. Just realized. It's iced spruce, not speckled egg. Although speckled egg would work just as well. I have done it in the background as a color, but then I have stamped in the same color to keep a monotone background. And I would have made a note somewhere for myself. Iced spruce stamped on sponged or brushed background. So these journals can be a place to experiment and learn when something goes wrong. Say, used the wrong, I don't know, pen, or it bled. I didn't want it to bleed, so I should have used permanent ink instead of water-based ink. Like, make notes for yourself, because you think you'll remember, and blow me down, you don't. So yes, I hope you've all enjoyed that. And take away from this whatever you want to, whatever suits you, and give it a try. Do it on a spare piece of paper. I know shading can be quite scary and feels more sort of fine arty than crafty, but practice. It's like I said earlier, we weren't born being able to drive a car. How do you get that? Well, you practice. You start off, you stall it, you roll it, you go very, very slowly. And I'm telling you, those of us who've been driving forever and a day will get from A to B, having thought what we're going to go get when we're at the shops, what we're going to make for dinner, all those things. And you go through how many traffic lights, and you don't have to think about it anymore. And art is exactly the same. So, it's about practice. So if you're not happy to do it in something like your art journal, well, take scraps of paper and practice. They say it takes 10,000 hours to be good at something. It's all about practice. So this is my new line, my vintage ink, and I'm thrilled with it. And I'm so pleased you're loving it. And I'm really enjoying. I haven't been able to be online much the last 3 weeks. I was on the group earlier this evening and just seeing everything that everybody's doing with it. And you guys are doing a really, really fabulous job and making me very proud. So thanks for joining me this evening, and we will see you again soon. Bye for now.